Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into one of the biggest, most fascinating wellness debates out there right now, microdosing. You've got millions of people who swear it has completely changed their lives for the better. But on the other hand, the scientific community is, well, let's just say they're not so sure. So, what's the real deal here?
Okay, so to really unpack this, we've got to start at the beginning. What exactly is microdosing, and what's the big promise that got everyone so excited in the first place?
First things first, and this is super important, we are not talking about a full-on psychedelic trip. That's a macrodose. Microdosing is a whole different ballgame. The idea is to take such a tiny fraction of a dose that it's sub-perceptual. In other words, you're not supposed to feel high or intoxicated at all.
So where did this whole idea come from? Well, a lot of the credit goes to psychologist Dr. James Fadiman, who really helped define it. And from there, it just exploded into the mainstream, especially after some best-selling books came out detailing these incredible personal transformations.
And I mean, the list of benefits people claim they get is just wild. We're talking about thousands of personal stories and surveys where people say it boosts their mood, crushes their anxiety, unlocks creativity, and even helps with pain. It sounds almost too good to be true.
And look, we're not talking about some fringe thing here. This went mainstream, and it went mainstream fast. By 2020, some surveys were suggesting that 1 out of every 20 people had given it a try. All of this was fueled by that simple, powerful promise of just having a really good day.
So that leads us to the million-dollar question, right? What happens when you take all these amazing personal stories and hold them up to the cold, hard light of science?
And you know, at first glance, the science actually seemed to agree. The early studies were basically huge surveys of people already doing it, and the results were pretty clear, that people who microdosed consistently said they had better mental health.
And yeah, when you look at a chart like this, based on those big surveys, it's pretty stark. The microdosers are reporting way less depression and anxiety. Looking at this, you'd think, okay, case closed. But not so fast. Because everything changes. The whole story just flips on its head when you bring in the gold standard of medical research, the randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. That's where nobody, not even the researchers, knows who's getting the real drug and who's getting a fake pill.
And this right here is the heart of the whole debate. In the best studies we have so far, a funny thing happened. The group taking the microdose, yep, they reported significant improvements. But, and this is the big but, the group taking the placebo, basically an empty capsule, they also reported significant improvements. When you run the numbers, there's no real difference between them. It suggests the drug itself might not be doing the heavy lifting.
So, what is going on here? How can so many people feel something so real when our best studies can't seem to find it? It's a huge paradox, and it's at the very center of the microdosing world.
Well, the number one explanation from the science side is something called expectancy bias, which you probably know better as the placebo effect. The idea is that if you believe, really believe, that you're taking something that's going to help you, then you actually do feel better. Your mind's belief creates a real result.
But hang on, is that really the whole story? A lot of researchers would say no, not yet. They'd point out that the current studies, well, they have some pretty big problems. Many of them are way too short, the groups of people they test are tiny, and scientists can't even agree on what the right dose is. Plus, we all react to things differently.
And here's the kicker. Maybe the biggest piece of the puzzle that pushes back against the "it's just a placebo" idea is this. Even if people can't feel it, we can actually see changes in the brain. Microdosing has been shown to increase something called BDNF, which is like miracle grow for your neurons. It also seems to quiet down the part of your brain responsible for getting stuck in negative thought loops. So even if the feeling is a placebo, the drug is for sure doing something biological.
Okay, so the scientists are still figuring it out, but in the real world, people are still doing this. So that brings us to a really important topic: safety and harm reduction.
So, the good news is, for the most part, it seems to be physically safe. The side effects are usually pretty mild, like a little anxiety or an upset stomach. But there are some potential risks and things you absolutely need to know about. There's a theoretical concern about long-term heart health and a very real risk if you mix it with certain other medications. That's why anyone with a heart condition or serious mental health instability should be extremely cautious.
For anyone who does decide to move forward, despite all the unknowns, the harm reduction community has a pretty clear set of guidelines. The big ones are, start with the absolute lowest dose and go slow. Don't take it every day because you'll build up a tolerance. And please, track everything.
Your dose, your mood, your sleep. It's all crucial information.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Is microdosing a powerful new tool that our science just isn't quite sharp enough to measure yet? Or is this whole phenomenon just the most incredible, modern proof of how powerful our own minds are? The really mind-bending answer is that it could be a little bit of both. But until we get bigger, longer, better studies, the debate between the hype and the science is definitely going to continue.